Welcome to Dollars, Lifestyle, and Charity, a finance podcast for gamers. Romans and I are both money guys, but we're also gamers, so we wanted to put this pod together to help gamers like us with some of their tough money topics that can sometimes feel as hard as a Souls boss.
We're talking budgeting, saving, paying off debt, and how to not fall for all the traps life throws at you.
Grab a health potion and let's start stacking gold IRL. This is DLC, a finance podcast for gamers. Welcome to Dollars, Lifestyle, and Charity, a finance podcast for gamers. I'm Scruffy, this is Romans, and today we are going to be talking a little bit about high yield savings accounts. It's something that's super important to know about because if you are keeping your cash in a regular savings account, that's basically like if you were playing Elden Ring, you're going up to fight the Elden Beast with just your starter gear. It's not what you want to be doing, and if you keep just keeping your money in that type of account, you're going to be left pretty far in the dust.
Nice. Yeah, I just can't imagine earning zero while the bank is earning who knows what on your money. They're probably investing your money, making tons of money. So you should do what you can to keep some of that since it's sitting in that bank account.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially for when you have the time to actually put money to the side. Because on top of just not earning anything, costs are going up. We're seeing game prices get into the 70, 80, $90 ranges now. Travel's getting more expensive. It's more, oh my gosh, game cards are getting more expensive. The 500 series of NVIDIA graphics cards are just insane. Although I did see some 570s that were going for MSRP and then immediately sold out in like 2 days. But everything's getting more expensive. And if you're keeping your money on the sidelines, just earning absolutely nothing, you're getting outpaced by all those rising costs of everything. So this is really important, especially for gamers. If you're, saving up for the next tech upgrade for your PC setup, for the next console, having money in a savings account that's actually making you money can really go a long way to helping you.
I'm actually kind of curious. What is the inflation these days? Is it still 3%? What are they saying inflation is today?
I didn't see the inflation numbers. GDP just came out the other day, and that was at 3%. So my guess is inflation's probably going to be a little bit lower than that. I did not get a chance to see the latest number, though.
2.7%.
Oof. Yeah, that's
So,
worse than I was expecting.
so if your money is not at least earning 2.7%, over a long time horizon, your money is
Hmm.
losing value, which I think for a lot of folks, I think for us, we're like, oh, yeah, I know what that means. I think for some folks, inflation has nothing to do with how much air is in your tire. Has to do with the rate of which money is growing statically.
Yeah.
And saying that it's a 2.7% means you should be earning 2.7% on average to keep up with how money is naturally growing. So if you think about it as a plant in the ground, it got 2.7% bigger this year
Hmm.
across the globe, or at least in the US. Actually, that's
Yeah.
just US's inflation. Who knows other countries? So
Yeah.
you need your personal plant to grow in your own home 2.7% to keep up, or you're losing ground. So that's a little
Yeah.
bit of a scare tactic, which really it's been historically 3% is usually the number most people use.
Yeah.
So all that to say, if you're not earning at least 3% per year on all your money that's invested, not necessarily to live by, you're getting actually more broke ever so marginally, little by
Yeah.
little. And a lot of littles add up to a whole lot.
It's very true. Yeah, another way to think about it is just in $100 increments. If you have $100 in a bank account and over a year inflation is 3%, that $100 can then only buy $97 worth of stuff. And, you know, in 1 year, you might not feel that much of a difference. But when that compounds year over year over year, if you're not keeping up with that inflation, you can get left behind really, really quick. And that's exactly what regular bank accounts do is the bank takes advantage of you keeping your money in the savings account, uses that money to make the bank money, and gives you for the pleasure of you keeping your money with them, a great 0.01% in interest every single year. That's for most big corporations. Their averages are about 0.01%. Some of the smaller banks pay a little bit better in maybe the point four ranges, but most big banks, especially if you're with a big name bank, you're only going to be getting 0.01% in your account. Compare that to a high yield savings account, which some of the big banks do offer them too, but oftentimes they're going to be offered by smaller banks or online only banks that want you to keep your money with them instead of one of these big mega banks. So those often, right now, I have the one I personally have is a little bit over 4%. I think it's at 4.2 right now, but most of them are still in that 4 to 4.5 range. So if you compare, let's just say over 20 years, for example, if you put $5,000 in a regular savings account at a mega bank that's giving you barely any interest, 0.01%, in 20 years, your money will be $5,010.10 over 20 years. Now you compare that with a high yield savings account that's paying you about 4%, then you're looking at $10,955.62. So just for keeping your money in a high yield savings account compared to a regular savings account over 20 years, you've doubled your money.
I've done the math in my mind while you're talking, and I can tell you absolutely, I have no idea if that's true. But since you took the time to run it through a calculator, I'm sure it is, and that's a ton of money.
No, I did.
I
I
I,
did. My handy dandy financial calculator that I keep next to me at my desk.
I can't believe you brought it down to 62 cents, guys. Do it. That's twice the money, and really this is your idle cash that you might need. You don't
Yeah,
know if you more than likely won't use it. But this is the money you have for if things go slightly unexpected.
yeah,
Maybe a paycheck is late. Maybe a payment you received you expect it to come. Maybe the summer utility bills caught you by surprise, or if you're in the northern months, the winter bill, and you just need a little bit of comfort. This is where that money should be coming from to carry over those little humps. This shouldn't be your long term investment because your long term investments, I hope, are earning more than 4% because they have a
yes,
longer view. Well, it depends on your risk. Some folks out here are super risk averse. And so if you're super, super crazy afraid of risk, then hey, 4% is still better than 0%, which is kind of what he
yeah,
was saying at 0.01% is absolutely a joke. Uh, and I just consider those zeros. So,
yeah. It's basically like you're earning nothing.
yeah.
So, but yeah, that's a really good point, Romans. This isn't a high yield savings account. This is something that is more of a holding place for money that you think you might need. I usually will call it my emergency fund. It's money that I don't plan on touching unless something were to happen, like if my hot water heater were to break or something like that. That's when I would go to this money. But it's not something you necessarily will be using that often. So because of that, having it in these high yield savings accounts can really pay off because like we were just talking about at the opening of the episode, if you're keeping it into a savings account that's not paying and the inflation keeps growing and growing and growing, those expenses that you had saved for in your emergency fund are then bigger than you had expected and bigger than you had saved for. And you actually start to feel the impact pretty big when they do come up, even if you have the money saved in your emergency fund.
Great point. But you know what I was thinking? I was thinking about, I don't know if gamers even think about this kind of stuff. I think gamers just don't really have a plan. So, where in the world, how do you start? Imagine in your total savings, maybe for the sake of the conversation, imagine someone listening only has 5,000 in total cash. How do they know how much should be in a high yield savings versus just keep it all in checking because, hey, it's 5,000 bucks. Like that can, one big tragedy and it's all gone.
Yeah.
Maybe we should rewind the tank a little bit and explain what should someone like that do? What do you think?
Yeah, in a situation like that, what I would mostly recommend would be find a good balance of you'll know if you're doing a budget, which I hope you are. We've had an episode on that. There's tools that we've made for you, so you should be doing your budget. You should know kind of what your monthly ins and outs will be. I personally, I like to keep at least 1 month of, floating cash in my account, in my checking account, so that if something's a little bit late, I have that cash there in my account to wait until my paycheck hits, or whether it's Twitch payout or a job paycheck, something like that. And then you want your emergency fund to be completely separate from any other element of your financial plan. So it's going to be a little bit different for every person, but if you have like your budget is about $2,000 a month and you know roughly that's what goes out, I would recommend keeping about 2,000 or maybe a little bit more than that in your checking account just so that you have that floating cash there, and then put the rest of that into your emergency fund with a high yield savings account. So that way, that money, you don't have to tap into that money if something little comes up because you have that floating cash there for you. But if something big were to happen, you have that money in your high yield savings account that's earning money for you that you can tap into.
Nice. So out of 5,000, 2,000 in checking and 3,000 in one of these banks you're going to tell me to throw it in.
Yeah, in that situation, I would, and I like I said, it depends a little bit on the person because each individual is going to have slightly different situations. Someone's monthly bills might be 3,000, 4,000. Then the answer might be a little bit different. Um, but if you have a situation like that and you want some advice on that, feel free to hop into the Reach Discord. If you don't want to ask a question like that in front of everyone on the Discord, feel free to DM me. You can find me in the Golden Loot Stat on the Reach Discord. If you have a specific question like that, I make myself available to people so that I can answer those questions.
And you are who's Scruffy looking in the Discord. But if you just type in
Correct.
Scruffy, SCRUFFY, you'll find him there. Cool.
Yes,
All right, so
absolutely.
going back to gamers. So I'm a gamer. Why should I care about any of this?
Yeah, I think it's really easy to, especially, for us gamers, we can kind of get focused on like the here and now a little bit more. Look into the next game, the next, whatever we're immediately doing. It's really important to take some time to take a step back and think about the long term, not just for games, but also like for your finances, because it may seem like a small thing. It may seem like, oh, it's only a couple percentage extra, but it's actually really important. Especially if you have goals, like if you're trying to level up your stream setup, whether that be buying the next gen console, you want to buy the Switch 2, you want to upgrade your graphics card, upgrade your motherboard, trying to get new cameras, new equipment, new microphones. All these are all things that, even if it's not for an emergency fund, you're probably going to be saving up for it for a little bit, especially if it's going to be like a graphics card or something that you're going to be dropping 800 to 13, $1,400 on. So even if you're keeping your money for a couple months in a high yield savings account, that can actually be pretty beneficial for that. Or if you're coming to Reach Conference, having money saved up for the travel, if you put that money into a high yield savings account, at the beginning of the year, you're going to make some money off of the interest for when you eventually buy the tickets to fly down here, drive down here, book a Airbnb hotel, different things like that. If you're trying to go to one of these Twitch cons, Comic cons, anime cons, different stuff like that, all these big expenses that you're saving up for, you can use a high yield savings account to make some money while you're waiting for them, especially if it's something you do all the time. Having that available is really beneficial and can make you some money in the time while you're waiting and saving up for those expenses.
I have a wild idea for you. According to the
Okay.
internet, the average gamer spends $1,000 a year on video games. $1,000. So then I was
Okay.
thinking, how much interest or how much money do I need to earn the interest and just spend the interest on video games? And
Oh,
so
I can answer that for you.
I came out. It's $25,000. So if you put $25,000 in a high yield savings account, you'll roughly make $1,000. And so if you do that, if you set a goal of 25,000 in a high yield savings, in theory, you never have to pay for video games again because you'll
If I
have.
had $1,000 budget every year to just buy games and buy parts and stuff like that, that'd be really nice.
I think it's a fun goal. Like it. I think there's more
Yeah.
wise decisions, but imagine you're a legit gamer, and I would love to say to myself in a mental capacity, I never want to spend money on video games again. So I'm gonna
Mm,
set a goal of saving up $25,000, put it in one of these high yield savings accounts that Scruffy's gonna tell me somewhere in this podcast, probably at the end, to clickbait you listeners all the way to the very end, even though we're probably buried in the middle. You're gonna listen to the end, and he's gonna tell you where to throw the money. And so I would tell you put 25,000, and then you could lie to yourself and say I never have to spend money on video games again.
mm.
I think this could sell. I think this is
That,
a clickbait article for you know, gamer.com, whatever website on
yeah,
gaming.
never buy video games again. Never
Yeah,
spend money on video games again.
right. And you just put
Even
25,000 in some high yield savings. You're
yeah.
welcome, America and beyond, whoever listens to this podcast. You heard it here first. My name's Romans, and I just taught you how to never pay for a video game again with $25,000 permanently invested for the rest of your life.
Sounds good to me. Good
Well,
luck. Good
yeah,
luck.
we did it. We did it, guys. Yeah.
Solved it. Solved it.
Yeah, just don't
Never
buy
have
that
to do it again.
$3,000 graphics card. That's where things go sideways.
Yeah,
Um,
that's true.
yeah. As I stare at my computer, thinking about how it's 4 years old and how much longer how much longer will it run? And I'm just, please, just keep running. Hopefully,
Yeah.
LED lights are not an indicator of graphics card because my graphics card, the LED lights on my graphics card are down to three out of like 50 lights. It
Oh no.
only has three
Oh
working
no.
lights. Oh Lord, please, graphics card, keep fighting.
Gotta keep kicking.
Yeah, your 3080 Ti, act like it.
Hey, that's a
Um,
pretty good card. That should still be working.
yeah, it should. I think it should be great the next 3 to 4 years, 5 years. Yeah, I don't need the 5090 stuff. I want the 50,
Yeah.
but yeah.
Yeah, those are expensive, and those are not going to get any cheaper anytime soon. So, well, as Romans was hinting at, we're actually going to be talking about where you can look for high yield savings accounts now, not at the very end of the episode. So,
Hey,
looks like it's like Romans had a doc that he did decided not to look at or anything. So, where you can
reading is
find
for
some of these.
losers. Just listen.
So, there's a couple of places you can go to find high yield savings accounts. For me, when I was first getting started, I just straight up Googled it and found like high yield savings accounts. These are some things when you're looking at different high yield savings accounts that you want to make sure that they're fine, as Romans shoves a gun in the camera. You want to make sure you find a high yield savings account that has no monthly fees. This is something that some of these banks will kind of try to trick you on. Um, you want to make sure that there's no fees for either just like holding the account or taking money in or out of the account. Another thing that might be beneficial for you to look into is finding a bank that doesn't have minimums. I know for me, when I was first just getting started, that was something that mattered a lot to me because I did not have a lot of money to put into a savings account when I was first getting started. I only had like $1,000. So I wanted to find a place that would still pay me a high yield rate for my savings because some of these will advertise a high rate, but that's only once you pass 5,000 or 10,000 or whatever the number is. So you want to make sure you find a place that doesn't have a required minimum in order to unlock that savings account. A lot of times, a great way to start would be looking for some of these online only banks. A lot of them offer higher interest rates because they don't have like the physical brick and mortar building. So they don't have that overhead, they don't have those costs associated with it. So they can offer some pretty decent rates there. And then, as a general rule, right now, I would recommend trying to find a high yield savings account that's going to be paying you a little over 4% per year. There's a number of them still out there that are offering that rate, which is really, really good. So, those are kind of the four things that I would definitely watch out for. And when you're taking the time to kind of evaluate it, there's a couple places like SoFi, I know will put out articles all the time about best high yield savings accounts. I think they may actually put one out monthly about like, and just goes through the list of like, these are the best high yield savings accounts out there. So take some time, Google it, ask ChatGPT, ask Grok, something like that. And they should be able to give you some good options, and then just kind of filter through, make sure you're not paying fees, make sure there's no account minimums, make sure you're getting an interest rate above 4%.
Do we tell them who our favorites are? Like our actual like it's one thing to talk about it, but where's your money parked at? I think that's
Yeah,
there's a
I
big
use
difference there.
yeah, the one I use is called UFB Direct. It's an online only bank. It's a subsidiary, I think, of Axios Bank, something like that. And the reason I got started with them was they didn't have any account minimums. Right now, I think they're at 4.2 if you have a checking account with them, 4.01 if you don't have a checking account with them, which is still pretty decent. So I just have been there for a long time, so I don't necessarily want to go shopping for one that maybe has a little bit higher interest rate. But I've been with them for a number of years now. That's where I put all of my emergency fund, all of my long-term savings that I'm not investing in there. So, Romas, who do you use?
I wanted to see if they're still around because that would be crazy because they have my money. But I actually use American Express. Believe it or not, they have a pretty good
Really?
savings account thing that they have. I'm just curious if it's still there. I haven't checked in a while. High yield savings. I'm clicking on it now. I want to see what rate it is. Where's the number? 3.5. Oh, it's 3.5. Yeah, so yours is better by point 0.5. I saw it even now as of this podcast is at 4.01 ish. And then I checked it against Ally, SoFi, Discover, Capital One. Everyone's around 3.5. So actually, where you park your money is still doing well. The one trick to this is commercial accounts. Commercial accounts sometimes don't have the same access as the accounts we kind of said are more personal accounts, which I think
Mm-hmm.
most listeners would fall into. That's fine. That's what works for me. But
Yeah.
the reason why I used Amex, I think Amex allows business savings accounts. And so
Okay.
I know
Yeah.
what my run rate is for my businesses. And so um, some of my businesses pay really long. So I need to have more than a 1 month run rate.
Yeah.
And sometimes I hover between 6 and 9 months because
Mm-hmm.
some of the folks, for some of the clients of my businesses, pay really slow. They
Yeah.
just they just do, and I know why they do because they're min maxing it for their own needs. They're getting 4%. Imagine they're paying you, I don't know, for the sake of the conversation, $50,000, 4% on 50,000. That's a lot of money, and so
It's
they
a lot of
drag that
money.
baby out over 6 months. That's 12 grand that they just made. So by holding it for 6 months, what they owe me up front, they made $12,000 when I could have made $12,000. So that's why they pay late. And what am I gonna
Mm-hmm.
do? Uh, at least they pay, and I don't have to sick a lawyer at them, right? But
Yeah.
different needs for different folks. So for those, anyways, back to what I was saying. For you corporate guys, you can find corporate solutions,
Yeah.
and just make sure you never go negative. Or maybe you're one of those guys that I know some folks that have lines of credit and credit. They actually use credit to buffer. I don't know if you
Hmm.
have that in here, but they use credit, and then the strategy there is to pay it before the interest hits, which
Yeah.
it definitely is a play until you mess up, and then you
Yeah.
you miss you floated yourself $50,000, and that interest rate at, say it's at 10%, and you just lost your shirt for 2.5 months, right? Compared to four
Yeah.
percent, 10 10% versus 4%. That's 2.5 months. So you
Mm-hmm.
can really mess up if you're not diligent about your money flow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
So
true.
so I hope you guys find an account. Find You could check your local credit unions too, right? It's good to support local
Yeah.
businesses.
A
Uh,
lot of local banks, local credit unions will actually have pretty good rates. So find someplace close to you. I honestly too, I just prefer to bank with local banks too, because the customer service is a lot better. So see if you can find a place near you that you could potentially bank with and see if they have a high yield savings account. Because the one downside with who I bank with right now, UFB, is it's an online only bank. So if I need the money, like need it, I do have to wait a couple of days for it to be transferred to my physical bank so I can then go and get the cash. If you are with a local credit union, you don't have that problem because you can literally still walk up, drive up to the bank, get the cash, and then you have it.
and just because maybe we have a Christian understanding, or we're trying to push that Christian. There is a Christian bank out there, uh, Pro Life. It looks like it used to be called Pro Life Bank. It looks like it's Pro Life FinTech Bank, maybe, if I'm understanding
Hmm.
this right. It's owned by Nick Vucevic. Vojevic. I don't know, the guy with no limbs. That guy who travels the
Oh,
world
yeah, yeah,
with no limbs. He
yeah,
started this bank, um, and so their interest rates. Looks like you have to get to 25. Oh, it goes back to my conversation. You have to go to 25,000 or
yeah, yep,
more, and then you get to 3% savings. So
yeah,
if you want to vote with your dollars, you can use a bank that's actually has Christian values, and he seemed to be the only one. There's others, but man, I felt like one was such a scam, even though they fly under the radar of
mm,
Christian. I won't even say their name, but I gotta tell you, I was very disappointed. So
mm,
I haven't tried Pro Life Bank yet, but they're the new hotness, and their rates are somewhat competitive if you can get a high enough balance. But
yeah,
back to your original comment, a lot of these typical secular banks, they don't require any balance, and you get boom, you get 4% right off the rip, which is super nice.
yeah,
Because I
yeah,
remember back in the day, getting up to 25,000, that is a gigantic number. That
yeah.
you're
It
not gonna
takes
get
a
it.
long
Yeah,
time.
you're not gonna get there overnight.
Yeah. So, well, another one of the things I wanted to talk a little bit about is some of the misconceptions about high yield savings account. I've heard a lot of people say it's not worth it. I don't want to spend the time to do it because it's a hassle. It's actually really easy. If you probably don't remember opening your first bank account because you were probably a kid and did it with your parents, but it is a very easy process to open up a bank account and a high yield savings account. Probably going to take you all of 15 minutes to do. And it's really not that complicated. With a little bit of research, you can find a bank that'll fit your needs, give you a good interest rate, and then 15 minutes, you have the account open, you can start transferring the money in. It's really simple. And the other thing is, even if you don't have a lot of money and you're not seeing like these big jumps, even starting with a little bit can really help because you are want your money to be working for you. This is one of the reasons Romans and I started with this whole thing in the first place was how much we both hate credit card debt and we hate seeing people have interest working against them. This is actually a super easy way for you to have the opportunity to have your money working for you, to have compound interest working for you instead of against you. So even starting small, it is worth it. Your money is working for you. It's making money passively. You're not doing anything. You're getting paid to have your money in your savings account. So even if you're small, you got to get started. You got to start somewhere.
And it's not only small but age, right? I'm in my 40s. I didn't do it with my kids necessarily, but I knew long ago that if you invested money somewhere around your low 10, like the day you make your first dollar at
Hmm.
13, you get a gift card or you get cash from a grandpa or grandpa or grandpa, and you invest it. And you just invest your birthday money every year if that's at all possible. You can graduate, by the time you graduate college, you can graduate college with a really nice nest egg,
Hmm.
especially if you work too. If you work as you go
Yeah.
towards college, because time is your strongest friend. High
Yeah.
interest rate plus time, I think that's the path to wealth. The guaranteed
Yeah.
path to wealth is time plus interest rate plus positive equity, not going negative, which is
Yeah.
duh. How about you keep more than you spend? Um, yeah, definitely do it. Definitely do it, especially if you're young. If you're listening to this and you're below the age of 30, you have to find a way to create savings in your life
Yeah.
in your plan somewhere. So
Yeah, absolutely. Completely agree. The earlier you can start, even if it's starting small, just starting with, 20 bucks, even if that's all you can do, that's still you're making progress. So start wherever you can, especially if you're young, and you'll really see it over your life work for you in some really great ways.
and then
So I would
yeah, sorry, go ahead.
go ahead.
Well, I would say for the older crowd, it's the opposite. If you're over 40, maybe you're approaching 50, you can't be as aggressive. You actually have to play it more safe. And for the most part, if you're not debt free by the time you're in your maybe in your late 40s, you're still deep in debt. Oh man, that's the real
Mm,
sad story because at that point, it's more about like just digging out of the hole versus guaranteeing your retirement. Like for the I've had people reach out to me, when I was a normal, typical CPA, and they'd reach out to
mm-hmm,
me and they're in their late 50s, and they'd say to me, how do I retire? Like, how do I, and I would ask, how much do you have right now? I don't have anything.
mm,
And I would have to sit there in that chair and think about how to tell them that it's kind of too late. That, like, I don't, like, as far as using investment, like, they wanted to use stocks and bonds, they wanted to save for investment. And I'm just like unless you have like $1 million, which kind of just defeats itself, right? Like these guys more than likely probably have like 2 to 3 thousand a year
mm-hmm.
to like the whole year they have 2 to 3 thousand a year to invest, and they're here telling me, yeah, so I'd like to have like I don't know around $1 million when I retire. They're
Mm-hmm.
serious. They're not even joking. They're not
Yeah.
messing around. And I'm just sitting there like I don't. Well, uh, let's show you. Let me show you how math works. Because
Yeah.
a
And
mil.
what's sad is
Yeah. Go
if
ahead.
you had that conversation at 25, that's absolutely possible.
Oh
But that
yeah.
conversation at 55, I don't know, man. You're with like only a couple $1,000s a year, that's not going to happen. But that
Yeah.
same amount of money just 30 years earlier, and you're talking about not just $1 million, but more than $1 million of money. So
Yeah,
just
it's
get
crazy.
started.
100% get started. And just so you know, to make $5,000 to be make it $1 million, if you're not earning any interest, you have to do it 200 times. Five thousand
Mm,
dollars. So if you can do 5,000 a month, you can get there pretty fast. But if you're doing 5,000 a year, you need 200 years without the power of compounding interest. But with the power
yeah.
of compounding interest, it won't take 200 years. It's just how compounding interest works. You
Hmm.
can you can actually make it happen, assuming you get a good interest rate. We're
Yeah.
talking 10 to 12%, and you can make it happen quickly here. While you continue on to the next topic, I'll run some numbers here out of curiosity.
Yeah. And we'll definitely be doing an episode about investing because that is kind of where my expertise is as a financial advisor. So it's definitely something we're going to talk about. But I would just encourage you start setting some goals now, even if it's for something that you're going to buy in the future, whether it's a graphics card, Steam Deck, something like that. Go ahead, set a goal, and find a high yield savings account that will work for you, and have that kind of be your war chest where you're putting money in there. You're starting to see yourself get some interest off the money you're savings. And another thing that's really nice, if you can set up auto deposits, that's something that really helps me because I don't have to think about it at all. The money's automatically going to go into your savings account. And what's also fun is try to, treat this as a game. Maybe you can gamify it in a couple of ways, treat yourself when you hit different milestones and level up your savings accounts. But do whatever you can. By the next time by the time our next episode comes out, try to have had your first high yield savings account opened and money going towards it.
That's so good. So you have 1 week. You should do it today. Go to, who did you say? Oh, UFB Direct.
Yeah, UFB Direct, who I use.
Go to UFB Direct before our next podcast. So you have a 1 week from hearing this podcast to get it done.
Yep. All right, Romans, you got some calculations for us?
You wanted me to be done already?
Yeah, I could have been done in my financial calculator. That's why I keep this next to my desk.
Oh my god. Oh, the pressure, the pressure. Oh man, that's well,
This is why I still work in finance.
yeah, this is definitely true. Well, I was trying to find a way that you could do it where you never invest it again. I was trying to find a magic interest rate that can get you there. And I think I got it. Let me see. I got to do my little decimal places here. I got it year 57. Okay. So if you invested $5,000 and never invested it again, and it grew at a 10% compounding rate, like every year it earned 10% on whatever the balance was every year, by year 57, you would have $1 million. So that means so this is a great trick or a great hack. Imagine you're a parent listening to this and you have a kid. Just invest
Mm,
$5,000 in some type of investment vehicle. By the time they're reaching the age of retirement, they will have $1 million in
there
57
you
years.
go.
Like with $5,000, you can guarantee your kids to be a millionaire by the time they retire by simply parking $5,000 earning 10% in a long-term investment vehicle, which most people should do more than that, but it just shows you how powerful time and compounding
Yeah.
interest can be. 57 years,
And
$5,000
and
at 10%.
and 10%, that is might sound like a lot, but that's really easy to get. The market over its lifetime, just the stock market in general, has averaged about 12%. So 10% is very, very doable. So that's a
Yeah.
great goal. If you're a parent or an expecting parent, that's a great goal is to, okay, one, by the time my kid's born, I want to have $5,000 that I can invest for them. And then by the time they want to retire, they have $1 million.
Yeah, my ultra conservative accounts are earning 9% for my, and I've had it around 20 years. I'm averaging 9% in my safe accounts. And my crazy accounts, this is where you don't run into like second guess things. My crazy accounts have earned like 30% or something. So don't think about it because then you're like, wait, I should have just put it all in the crazy accounts. But but there's been negative 20% years, and imagine
Yeah.
seeing a negative 20% year on everything, you will absolutely fall out of your chair. So
Yeah, that sucks.
I I'm happy. I tell myself I'm happy. I'm not sure if I'm lying to myself, but I tell myself I'm happy at 9%. I just try not to look at my other accounts, and definitely don't look at my crazy stocks that I've bought that I have at
Yeah.
$15 a share that are worth over 300 a share. Oh my
Yeah.
God. Don't look at it. Just keep trucking. Just be grateful. Like, be grateful what the Lord has done, that the Lord would make something at $15 be worth over 300. But man, time is your friend. So, long story short, if you have $5,000 and you have someone you love, invest it and let it sit for 57 years and don't touch it in somewhere that's strong and long term, and that person will be a
Yeah.
millionaire. Another hack. That's two hacks in one episode. Scruffy, that's two hacks in one episode. You could take your fancy
Yeah.
TI-85 calculator, turn it sideways. No, I'm just kidding. That's from anyone watching The Rock. Oh man, The Rock cracked me up. I want to do this podcast the way The Rock would do WWE promos. All right, cool. Let's wrap this baby up. This is supposed to be a short
All
episode.
right. Yeah, well,
Yeah.
it was a good episode. It was a
Yeah,
good
yeah, yeah.
episode. All right. Well, thank you all so much for watching. Hope you guys got something of value out of this. This has been Dollars, Lifestyle, and Charity. Be sure that you put some of your goals maybe in the comments. What are some of the things that you're hoping to save up for? And if you find some great high yield savings accounts for people, drop them in the comments. I use UFB Direct. If you find one that's even better, make sure to let us know in the comments.
All right, guys. We'll see you in the Reach Discord if you want to talk more, if you want to talk in real time. That's where we hang out. Name's Romans and Scruffy. ReachConf.org. The conference coming up 11/6/7/8 here in Orlando, Florida. And check out your tickets at reachconf.org.
All right. Well, this has been Dollars, Lifestyle, and Charity, Finance Podcast for Gamers. We will see you next time. Bye.
Peace.